Anyway, we're headed into the match. It's the Atlanta Rain versus the Los Angeles Gladiators. And yeah, like we're saying, we're kind of hyping this one up to hopefully be a close one between these two teams. I mean, they're close on the standings. Yeah. They have so much going for them in terms of like the raw talent. You think about the matchups that they were hyping up, like Pelican versus Kevster, Birdring versus Kai. We may see it come alive here today.
I think we absolutely will. Let's take a look at the Atlanta starters, because both of these teams have a similar narrative. The Atlanta Rain is a team who had some level of excitement coming into this season. The community was a little split. On one hand, people were like, okay, this DPS lineup is unbelievable. There's no way that they can fail. And the other side was saying, well, Atlanta had a good roster last season, and they still weren't able to perform. Atlanta now in the June Joust are trying to prove those doubters wrong. They are, essentially, this match is a battle to enter Tier 1. Both of these teams have the potential to get there, but neither have really realized it yet. 3-3 record on the Atlanta Rain, 3-2 for the Los Angeles Gladiators. Whoever wins this is going to be looking good to enter that Tier 1 and potentially make it to Hawaii for the June Joust.
Yep, and that's where all eyes are on. I mean, Gator and Hawk is an individual you're seeing here in the center of your screens. These guys have been playing so well. Let's take a look at the Gladiators and who they're going to be fielding today. There's not going to be too many surprises. I mean, I've already gassed up this DPS battle that's going to be occurring. Kevster and Birdring. Again, Kevster, we don't know what he looks like. Where's the cam? You know, where is the cam?
Yeah. No, it's another mystery. He is an international man of mystery, and that also, I'm assuming, is not what he normally looks like. So
yeah, you don't know.
This is an interesting one. I am also anticipating Skewed being subbed in at various points as well, because their Orisa-based compositions with Skewed and Shu in the back lines, wow, that's a tongue twister, looked phenomenal yesterday when they essentially battered their way to the win. So I think this is going to be a really interesting duel. Both teams have somewhat similar styles. They both feel confident playing the Orisa compositions, if that's where we end up going. Although it's probably not where we're going to end up starting, considering the first map is Busan.
Yeah, those clash of styles will be quite intriguing. I'm also really interested, actually, Josh, in seeing how strong the Gladiators are, I think, against a team like the Atlanta Rain. The Atlanta Rain is such a momentum-based team that, you know, if they get some of those early wins under their belt, they can really feel confident rolling into it. The Gladiators, I mean, they had a bit of an easy time of it the other day. It was quite one-sided against, I believe it was London at the time. So, yeah, this is going to be the test for me, I think, watching this, especially probably a lot of Gladiators fans at home as well, wondering just how far their team goes, just to really hammer home at this kind of breaking into Tier 1 storyline that we're running with here.
Yeah, and a reminder that the expectations for both of these rosters were really high coming into the league.
Oh yeah.
They were both built to go deep, and as yet, that hasn't happened. This is a good opportunity, actually, Busan, to see what compositions these teams are favoring. You can run Orisa comps, you can run some kind of Winston or Ball compositions here as well. I would expect Atlanta Rain to be running essentially what you're looking at right now for the majority of this series. The Orisa Diva is the core of what Atlanta Rain have been able to get success with. And then Kai playing his long-range hit scan, and Pelican going to flex over onto the Echo as well. And on the other side, we actually have Gladiators trying to play the Moira Lucio Rush composition, the like mixture between dive and rush that we've been seeing so often. But this is a really open map to try and do it.
Yeah, the issue that the Gladiators comp is going to have is trying to close the distance without taking too much damage. And so Atlanta are just trying to, they're going to try and spam them the entire time as they're trying to slowly gain positioning. Gladiators now might not have the speed boost just yet, but again, you can see them just working around the map, just hiding behind the walls, but it's the Atlanta Rain who are going to be taking the initiative. The Holt going to be pulling them back as they try and get split up into twain. Look at this, the Gladiators finding a bit of work here. An early pick onto Gator. The point does flip over towards the Atlanta Rain, though, which is always nice for them. But it is a 5v6 fight, and as soon as the cooldowns come back on, Coalescence comes through. Birdring has to use that Wraith to try and back off, finding it very difficult to remove Pelican out of this fight, but eventually he goes down, but not before Kevster also traded out. Still in this fight, though, Kai pumping in the damage. That was 2 headshots back-to-back, and Moff and Birdring will be falling, so it's looking kind of tasty for the Gladiators, but unfortunately not enough to try and rip it away from the Atlanta Rain.
Atlanta are always going to be able to back off with their DPS. Their DPS players are 2 long-range hit scans, Kai and Pelican on the McCree and the Soldier 76. As they see Gladiators approaching, they can see them miles away. And all you have to do is track that speed boost, and you are going to be able to out-rotate them. Gladiators have got a hard job here to be able to get these engages working well. Constant disruption from the Atlanta tanks, too.
Oh, are they going to get booped into this one? There comes the boop, and that puts in the damage. Holy smokes, yep. Straight up. I mean, it's an age-old combo. We've seen it quite a lot, actually, these days. Combos up quite nicely.
Definitely. We've been seeing many more attempts at boops into Deadeyes and self-destructs as well. We've also just been seeing more self-destructs online because the Echo has been played so much more. So it's definitely becoming a combo that's fresh in people's minds and that they think of in the middle of matches. Here we go. Kevster, though, with Duplicate and a Coalescence. So Speed Boost, Cole are going to be great initiation tools, and then they can Duplicate in order to close this out.
Well, Kevster's going to be duplicating up now. Soundbar's going to be meeting them. The Atlanta Reign trying to keep this fight going just a little bit longer. That self-destruct connects onto Muse. But this should be done, surely, as the Gladiators have flipped over the point early enough. Look at how split the Atlanta Reign are playing here. Just trying to hunt down all these little individual pieces across the map. But yeah, they do end up winning that team fight in quite a decisive fashion, actually, off the back of that sound barrier.
Yeah, and the speed boost isn't the only tool that they use, right? They're able to get really deep because they have the Coalescence to push with. So that wasn't a normal engage. You can only go for those kind of hyper-aggressive dives that cross the entirety of the map when you have ults to be able to utilize with it. There they go again with a little short-range dive, but Kevster gets pinged by the Reaper of all things.
Oh, wow, yeah, and that Deadeye Birdering is gone. The DPS not existing, actually, on this mortal plane. Self-destruct comes through. Muse, okay, that's the Primal Rage onto Massa. Wasn't able to actually pull anybody else into it. A Coalescence from Shu as well. He's going to get stunned out of it here. Kai still wants to keep his team back in the action, but the good news for the Gladiators is they flipped over that point as that entire fight was actually taking place. So the Atlanta Reign are slowly trying to win out this fight. I mean, they've got the damage for it, certainly. But luckily didn't lose too much. They've actually managed to gain themselves another team fight.
Huge play by Muse to be able to take out Massa, which also allowed Iris to die because he didn't have the Lucian appeal. But now Iris has ult. The backline of the Atlanta Reign, they're sitting pretty. Tank ults as well are going to be able to be used in this fight. What do the Gladiators have online? They're expecting a big performance from Kevster here, otherwise it's curtains in the first round.
Gator is... Okay, he's laid down the supercharger. Birdering, oh, he's eyeing it up. He needs to be so careful at the off angle here. Look at that immortality field. It is perfect. And yeah, Kai just layers in that Deadeye. Got a Sandbar on top of it. Yeah, no one is going to be able to contest that one. And you're right, Josh. The Atlanta Reign had the perfect read, the perfect positioning, and all the ultimates they needed to try and close out that round. So they're going to be walking away with it one step closer to taking the map.
It's a tough ask for the Gladiators to get value, or to get huge value, out of that composition on that round of Busan. It's just so open. Atlanta can see you coming a mile off. You have to use the speed boost really early on because there isn't enough cover to avoid poke damage. It's just hard for Muse and for Kevster to be able to approach without getting killed. Now that we're on this stage, though, the Gladiators, they're going to be at much shorter range. The speed boost will cover a lot more distance, as will the Winston leaps. And they're going to stick to this play. What are Atlanta up to? Are they running Moira here as well?
Okay, they are.
So Atlanta are running like a really rush brawl version of their normal tech.
Ooh, okay, yeah, I mean, he's getting tons of seismic slam damage when he comes around here. And these close corridors, I mean, it's good for the comp, but it's bad to play into this Doomfist. And if Pelican picks and chooses his battles well, could be on a winning side. Still, Massa goes down early, no more speed boost, and that's the D-Mech as well. I don't think this is going to be winnable. Gladiators are the ones who are walking away with victory for now and getting a lot of these stagger kills. No pressure being applied to the point just yet, but they're just trying to make sure that, I guess, the Atlanta Reign can continue to fight this one as they continue to drag it out. Moffel eventually flipped this point over onto their side of things, but the way that team fight went as well, Josh, I mean, plenty of ultimates to use coming into the next one.
Yeah, and space demeched, so nobody in a bad position whatsoever. They have let the Atlanta Reign in through the choke point, but here we go, the aggression, it's just crushing.
Yeah, Coalescence actually traded from both sides, and Pelican is going to struggle to try and get a lot of work done. That's a great ultimate, as Kevster actually ended up getting the duplicate off. Okay, Kai comes in with the Death Blossom. Now the sound barrier to try and keep them up. Meteor Strike doesn't quite connect, so it didn't bring down. Oh, wow, that was actually a really unfortunate timing to be losing that ultimate. He could have taken out that supercharger, but it gives them just the extra bit of damage they need to close out this team fight. The Gladiators, they don't have the bodies anymore. The health just got eviscerated.
That is absolutely brutal. Really unfortunate stuff there from Kevster. It looked like a fantastic fight for the Gladiators to take. First pick, they've locked the Atlanta Rain into a small choke point, but that supercharger damage is just obscene. And there's one of the advantages of running Gator on the Orisa regularly. He's also got fantastic Halt usage and is a very intelligent player generally, but just straight up, the ult is amazing.
Another Halt to try and pull them in. At least so Pelican can get a bit of work done. This TP, they need to try and shut this down. Birdering forced to use that Ray form immediately. And look at the Coalescence. Again, it's way too much for them to withstand. The Atlanta Rain, they had the better positioning, but not the ultimates to try and withstand that kind of pressure. The Gladiators, yeah, only a couple more people.
I also think, Ren, that this composition from Atlanta is just not that great. When we've seen Reaper Doomfist comps in the past, they've been comboed with the Sigma to give safer positions and shields. They've been comboed with Batiste to be able to keep people alive in the middle of fights so that you can buy time for cooldowns to come back. It's an odd look to go for the Moira without having the more mobile comp. They do have a Coalescence available for this fight, though. But the question becomes, are they going to really try and like speed boost engage with the Coalescence here and just rely on Kai? It feels like Pelican has to get a pick.
Okay, they've actually baited a bit of aggression from them. It forces out the sound barrier. And now we see the duplicate here. Kevster just trying to basically destroy that supercharger, trying to get the damage in. Oh my goodness, though. Look at that. Kai comes in with the Death Blossom. It's going to be cleaving through a bit of the ultimates that were laid down. A supercharger and duplicate removed. And yeah, the Atlanta Rain nice and strong there. So baiting in the Gladiators into that fight, Josh, when you were talking about how exactly they were going to be trying to engage into that fight.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fantastic one. Also, Pelican's able to get the kill on Moth really early on in the fight, which was a huge advantage for them to be able to work with. Look at the amount of ultimates that were used in that engagement, too. The Gladiators thought that was their winning ticket to be able to take the round. Here they go with the speed boost around the side, getting through very quickly on here. Shu's going to have his Coalescence way before Iris does. And Pelican's ultimate is forced. There's a Halt as well, but it doesn't get anything.
Yeah, Pelican tried to go aggressive with that Meteor Strike. It won't be happening. And look at that boop. Sets him up perfectly. Muse just bashing them into a corner. Gladiators, 83%. We'll be flipping this up eventually. Is the Atlanta Rain? Yeah, going to be losing it there. And we are down to essentially our final team fight. The Atlanta Rain have to make some quick changes, some adjustments to their composition as Gator switches over to the Wrecking Ball just to try and contest this.
This is looking rough. No ults available, though, for the Gladiators.
Boots back.
Not really any for Atlanta Rain, though, apart from the Coalescence. Does Gator get out? No, he doesn't. Punished immediately.
And this is looking really rough. Unless Iris can stay alive and build up this Coalescence. He's got a hard job, though. The overtime is going. They've got to try and stall it out with the bodies that they've got. And look at that work that's being put into them. Hawk goes down. Iris just about builds up the Coalescence. Now he's going to be letting it loose. Kevster, though, moving over to the Doomfist. The Seismic Slam. Hawk is out of here. Can there be any sort of clutch coming out from it? Muff dies with the sound barrier, but Shu comes back in now with one of his own. Surely this isn't turnable. Kevster still putting in work, and there you go. The DPS duo is making sure that they are pushed off the point. Kevster and Birdering doing their jobs in the heat of the moment. So the Gladiators walking away with that round, bringing it truly to the distance.
That's a close one. And the Gladiators commit to this composition, right? With the Moira, the Lucio, the Echo Reaper. We've seen it be run by a lot of different teams, but it is map dependent. I don't think they can force it throughout the whole series. It relies on those short distances. And look at the tweaks they're making here. It definitely looks like they want to run a slightly altered composition. The ball, much more mobile on this version. The Winston doesn't have as much cover to be able to play around. And Shu moves over to the Batiste as well as Birdring hops onto the Widowmaker. It looks like Birdring's going to have that long-distance advantage if Kai stays on the McCree, but he's going to be shooting into a shield. The Diva's going to be able to pressure him. This is a very individualistic composition from the Gladiators.
Yeah, looking for, I guess, some of their players to try and pop off make up for it for sure. That is a great start, and that's why you don't jump against the Widowmaker. You become very predictable. You move in one straight arc. Still an even fight, but yeah, not for much longer. There you go. The Gladiator's going to be closing this one out. You want any more Widowmaker tips?
Yeah. I love them. Keep feeding me them. I'm not going to listen to them. I'm not going to improve. I'm not going to incorporate them into my own gameplay. Hawk is just a sad, sad boy here. The Gladiators get a free 10% off the back of that. It's going to be 20 by the time that Hawk is back in the engagement and ready to fight. And Birdring's got such great positioning. Kevster with a permanent Mercy Pocket as well is going to be difficult for Kai and Pelican to deal with. Even though they're running double hit scan, they're going to have to worry about the Widow and be looking directly up in the air against damage-boosted Echo. That's hard.
It really is. Space gets demeched and taken out there. Maybe that was a hole pulling them in, but the spam damage comes through. Muse follows up as well.
Just fallen over.
Yeah, I don't know how that's happened, actually. We didn't quite get a good angle on it, but it means the Atlanta Reign are actually going to be able to get the first, or that flip back over now. So
that was far too easy, Brent. The Gladiators cannot make it that easy for Atlanta to be able to get into the choke point. It should be hard for them. Gladiators can just harass and keep backing off, and Atlanta are forced to avoid the Widow sight lines, contest the payload, contest the point. Oh, wow, that's gorgeous.
Well, Kai and Iris are gone, finishing this fight, and yeah, just waiting out that fortified. Gator will fall as well. Just like that, the Gladiators finding their footing once more, regaining control at this point. I'm having a sense of deja vu here.
This is where we need a compositional swap, in my opinion, for the Atlanta Reign. Okay, they do have the Supercharger, which is a hugely important ultimate for team fights. But maybe after this is used, you move over to something that just has a bit more pace. As they walk in, they're just getting picked to pieces by the Gladiators. Apart from that big mistake where Space got demeched and Muse died, they've just been very firmly in control. Oh, brutal, Brett. They're able to find pick after pick here as the Atlanta Reign push in. There's barely anything going on. These team fights, they're just devastating. Gator and Hawk used both of their ultimates, and nothing happened in the slightest. The Gladiators are in full control. This is where I desperately need to see a team composition swap for the Atlanta Reign. This tank lineup is just not cutting the mustard. Gator is way too obvious. Their pathing through is far too one-dimensional. Their only big change, though, is Pelican moving to Hangzhou. Get the pick, the Amp Matrix is laid down. There's a pick from Pelican, the headshot across, over onto Kevster. Moth, though, he still has that Resurrect available. The Valkyrie, but he's choosing not to invest it. Atlanta Reign, they have control over the area. And as Birdring pops his sights, this now becomes worrying for Pelican. Oh, just the forehead of Iris popping up there. If he was built like me, his head would have been taken clean off. Sound barrier in as well as Space Remix finds that pick onto Iris. Immortality Field can't save you this time, Batiste. And what another shot from Birdring. Picks off the dome of Gator. And this is Atlanta Reign just crumbling here. This composition did not work for them. Gladiators already with a great plan of how they want to disassemble that. And there goes the first map. Busan very firmly in favor of the Gladiators. A really nice showing there from that first map, and I do believe that we lost Brent for a moment. We'll get him back in just a second if you're wondering why I'm ranting and raving without any interruptions, but I think that this map is really important for the pace of the game as we move on. So far, we have seen no team effectively counter what Atlanta Reign are bringing to the table with that Orisa Diva composition. Yes, it's only one map, and yes, it's Busan, which isn't as favorable to the Orisa, but Gladiators came in with a clear plan there of how to disassemble it. As we move on later in the series and we get to other big important maps like Junkertown, Hanamura, I want to see what the Gladiators' strat is there. And we can all see, after this next break, whether the Atlanta Reign are able to bounce back into it. We'll catch you then.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile.
Wait, hold on.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everybody, from the break, and yeah, let's take a look at our Indeed player resume here with Birdring, and yeah, my internet has decided to work as well. You may have heard me screaming into the void, actually, while Josh was trying to close out. I was just saying, hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, we've got Birdring up here, and I think, he was just fantastic in that final round, man. He's a former league champion the first year, one of the OGs of the Overwatch League. And we always talk about playoffs Birdring, right? The guy being able to bring his peak performance in big games and maybe not performing as well when it comes to the regular season. That doesn't appear to really be the case this season so far. Every time he's been fielded, he's had monstrous performances. Maybe it's the fact that there aren't as many games this season and each one is more important has made the atmosphere in the team feel different. But Birdring himself individually has been popping.
Certainly has. Yeah, I mean, it's that's a narrative that we've been running with often. Is will Birdring be playing up to some of his previous peaks in terms of his form? And it seems like he's really found his place, I think, on the Gladiators here. The guy is playing really, really well into players like Kai. So, yeah, an astounding performance. I mean, I missed the end of Busan, but heading into Rialto, I can kind of extrapolate as well as the kind of what happened, just at least from the way that last round was going. Do you think, Josh, we're going to see anything different here heading into Rialto?
Definitely. I mean, Skewed has been subbed in, right? So Moth out, Skewed in indicates that they're going to be running far less of the Lucio compositions for sure, but probably less of the Mercy as well. We saw Skewed play Brigitte, and he was, I mean, his statistics were something, there was some freak anomaly. A freak quantitative anomaly. He had something like 40 defensive assists per 10 minutes. When I saw the stat card yesterday, it was just absurd. And albeit that was in a match where they were just rolling their opponents, that's probably not going to happen here. But nevertheless, they do have a pretty decent idea of how they want to integrate this Brig backline and play it pretty effectively. So I would expect for Rialto that it's much more about the mirror happening. And apologies, I was talking about the map pool earlier on as I was closing out on Busan, and was mistakenly using the map pool from the previous series of Shock and Toronto. In this one, we've got Rialto, Volskaya, and Numbani as we head deeper into the series. So something for the audience to think about as we consider the options that the Gladiators have for countering the Atlanta Rain. But to start out with here, it's just going to be a mirror, straight up. The only difference being that Skewed doesn't really like to play the Mercy, so Pelican has a bit more of a pocket.
See what they can do. Kai goes for the early jump shot out the gates, just to see if he can get anything for free. Won't be happening. But it's the usual approach as both these teams are going to start to make their way towards this corner, and this bend that you see here at Rialto. I mean, how many times have you seen teams held just here? It could be brutal to try and get through.
It is. You have a flanking route, you have a high ground, you have a mega pack at the back. All of those are options where you can try and path as the attacking team. And it looks like Birdring is going for a bit of a flank through that mega path route. Looking for a flashbang, seeing if he can get anything. Oh, headshot onto Pelican, but he just can't quite get it. That's Massa's value again on the Mercy.
Some beautiful shots, but not getting the kill. But yeah, there we go. The Atlanta Rain trying to roll over them, but no one's dealt with Birdring in the back line, and he is deadly. I mean, we were singing this guy's praises about how he's certainly found his footing now that he's playing on the Gladiators. God almighty. Yeah, he's coming alive.
That is a phenomenal play. They do not win that team fight if Birdring doesn't take that flank. What a gorgeous play. And Pelican, I think that's his responsibility to try and shut that down, to be honest. But instead, they wanted to focus forwards with the front line. That was the call that Atlanta made.
Okay, that Matrix gets used indoors. I don't think anybody can really follow up on it, actually. Comes off and around to the corner. It's an odd one, for sure. Trying to basically put a lot of pressure into them. Gator ends up going down, but rezzed up straight away. And Kai, still a threat there on the Widowmaker. Muse falls. Going to be able to get anything else with this one. Yeah, no res going to be happening, obviously. No Mercy in play. Skewed going down to the Accretion. The Atlanta Rain are going to be holding on, seemingly, to this one.
Okay, both Echoes end up trading there, which is a pretty good performance from Kevster, considering that Pelican has a Mercy pocket. No res available, obviously, because Massa had to use it for Gator previously on in the team fight. And look at the high ground being taken right now. Kai finds the pick on Birdring, though, before the Immortality Field can get used. That's devastating. Birdring and Space were looking to try and work together there to dominate the high ground and give them a lot more space for the next team fight. And instead, that play is completely shut down. They're going to go for it again, though, with Birdring coming off the respawn. He hasn't quite connected with the rest of the team, but they're still looking for this good positioning.
Trying to deny them the high ground, actually. They do that. They push them away. Gladiators taking the approach again around this corner. It's hard for Kai to try and get any value. This payload in the way, but they've been pressured pretty heavily. And Pelican, look at those sticky bombs, already doing the work as Skewed goes down. And again, no Mercy to try and res that one up. Gladiators at a big disadvantage in this fight. Having to expend a couple of ultimates to see if they can try and win this fight. Kev's actually going to be moving over. Actually uses a duplicate onto the Batiste, but taken out of it pretty quickly here as the Amp Matrix are laid down on either side, but way too much damage coming out from the Atlanta Rain. And now a minute remaining. Gladiators, they expended a couple of ultimates into that fight, but ultimately the Atlanta Rain coming up on a few of their own.
Gladiators need a big play coming out from Birdring. He moves over to the Widowmaker. He's going to look to just straight up contest. But this Mercy is making a difference. Skewed, he's playing Brigitte fine. He just can't get the same value that Massa is getting. The damage boost coming out from Pelican stickies were crucial there in being able to find the first kill. And then also the Resurrect has just been able to provide huge advantages for Atlanta Rain in these team fights. The rally and a potential pick from Birdring are the big tools that they have on board here, along with obviously the supercharger which they've built up. Oh, but Spaceballs!
Yep, that's that spam coming through as they try and get into position to take this fight. What a massive pick-off. Space falling, you've lost one of your tanks already, and now Pelican's moved over to the Orisa. Got a lot of tanks on the field here. Building up these superchargers. Look at that.
Birdring?
Okay, Birdring's got to try and do something here at this off angle. He brought down Kai, but now he's being spammed from afar, just trying to dodge a juke, but unfortunately not enough to try and evade the gravitic flux that comes up and down. Hasn't fallen just yet. In fact, Hawk will be the one who's traded with it with his life. The tanks being halted forward, pulled forward. Gladiators still steadily pressing the advantage. And Muse, he's found two somehow. The res comes through, and now the supercharger traded out once more. Gator wants to push again, trying to stop them right where they stand. A lot of pressure being applied into the backline here, but Pelican's been given a lot of space to perform. Muse still trying to hold down this front line with the Fortify up. He's going to be reducing a bit of that damage coming his way, but he's going to get chunked down now. There we go. The beam, way too much to try and overcome. And the Atlanta Reign keeping this overtime going. Self-destruct as well. Comes through. That actually caught Massa. That's a big pick. Overtime still going here. Do they have any ultimates to try and walk with? Not quite, not yet. They've got to try and push them away from this one. The Atlanta Reign have got too much brawn and brawl capabilities at this point.
This is huge. They're able to stay alive for so long. The sustainability is just absurd with the Brigitte and the Baptiste. Skewed has just been swinging all the time, activating his AoE healing left, right, and center. And the Gladiators come out on top of the team fight. That is the advantage of the Brig right there. That's how you get those insane statistics. Team fights that last over a minute with constant healing happening. Skewed playing his positioning really nicely.
That is ridiculous. I mean, he bought enough time for the, the second Amp Matrix to come out from Shu. Just ridiculously absurd stuff. Well, the fight continues because the Atlanta Reign don't want to be giving up this staircase positioning here, and Gladiators have been given a second chance. Okay, the Uprising comes through. Kai doesn't have one of his own. He needs to be so careful about the positioning he's playing. Birdering had all the information in the world. Now he's going to be looking to deny the res here. Holt comes through off onto the side, missing a shot, but the accretion connects. That grasp ate up one of the shots, but it's bought them so much space. The Gladiators are just steamrolling this now.
What a beautiful play. Birdring getting maximum value out of his infra side. It's not just the pick that he's able to land on Kai. It's all of that information on where the Atlanta Reign are playing, because it sets up for the easiest little halt of Muse's life. The Gladiators are rolling through. Checkpoint B is under their control as well. 2 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock. When does this train end?
I'm not too sure. I mean, they have found momentum here where I wasn't expecting. Space sends out the accretion, building up this gravitic flux as well with this spam. That's going to be a big ultimate for them to take forwards into this final point. Supercharger from Gator is going to be pushing them away for a short moment, but it gets taken out by the sticky bombs of Kevster. Still Kai. Look at this switch over to the Hangzhou. A stray arrow will catch Shu in the head, and now the aggressive play comes out as they're trying to play the flank here with this amplification matrix. Muse just trying to stay out of the line of sight of it, just trying to dodge and weave around the cart, but not enough. Will be removed from the fight.
I wonder if this is where Birdring picks up a different hero. He does have the infosite nearly ready, and that was absolutely pivotal to them taking checkpoint B, but checkpoint C isn't really structured in the same way. It's a little more linear. The flanking options aren't as obvious. You have to get really deep before they open themselves up to you. So I'm interested to see if he's able to generate any value from that. On the other side, though, we've got Skewed with a rally. And again, if they're able to close the distance, that's where the Gladiators' team composition ends up working really well. There's a Halt and Flux to initiate.
Yeah, Halt and Flux. Oh my goodness, Kai. Okay. Sent in the arrows. It was looking pretty monstrous, honestly. The Gladiators tried to combo that one up, but just getting saved so much here. Kai putting in the consistent work with these shots.
Yeah, they're just fabulous. This is the DPS duo that we were all excited to see for the Atlanta Reign. Kai and Pelican, Edison occasionally coming in as well. And there's a lot of ultimates now available. The Dragon Strike can be comboed with a Halt. Gator's been very good about getting those off. They could go for a Halt and a Flux as well. And the Gladiators really... Their composition wants to brawl. It wants to get closer in order to get value out of the Brigitte. And Atlanta Reign have all the tools at their disposal to keep that gap really far. What an accretion, though! It cancels the Flux.
The accretion comes through. The gravitic flux is no more. They're going to try and take this a little bit further forwards. Kevster just trying to build up that gravitic flux of one of his own here. Obviously gets the increased charge rate, sends it up, but doesn't quite connect. Still, the Atlanta range struggling to hold on. Pelican comes in, but again stunned up. Those 2 accretions coming his way. The beam forces him back into the spawn area. 19 seconds remaining. The Gladiators are just going to try and cap this one up. Birdring, what is that? Sending in the arrows from afar. That is way too much work that he's outputting right there. And they are going to be able to get that capture. All 3 checkpoints going the way of the Gladiators there. Holy moly.
Birdring swap over to Hangzhou to get the those final couple of kills is fantastic, don't get me wrong. But Space, he cancelled 2 gravitic fluxes with his accretions. That's monumental. That is a game-winning play right there. The Gladiators are able to capture that with time remaining and the time back. How? Because Space has just mastered the accretion.
And considering where we were at checkpoint A, with the overtime hold where Atlanta Reign was so close to stopping the Gladiators, that is ridiculous for them to come back and just come at them with this kind of time. And obviously with the sides switched around now, the Gladiators are going to get their own opportunities to just shave off this time. Rialto is historically really difficult to try and push through multiple areas. Not only this first checkpoint, if you play it correctly, you get 2 really solid team fight positions, but also the staircase and also the final point. And let's take a look at Birdring again. I mean, his Hangzhou play was just ridiculous. Sends him one. He's like, okay, that's pretty nice. Yeah, I'll take another one, actually, as he denies the res. Okay.
Yeah. He's so important for this team. He opened up the checkpoint A first fight by getting that flank as well. So he has just been so crucial for them, Birdring and Space both. Alongside the value that they've been able to get from the Brigitte. Yeah, it's really interesting to watch how this team works. Again, opting for this Echo and McCree kind of situation, while Kai is playing a little more long range. Starts with the Widowmaker, moves over to the Hangzhou. They're trying to play heroes that get value from Massa's Mercy. It's a different style. It's only a slight difference between these 2 teams. But it is a core difference to how they're trying to take these team fights.
You see them firing in the arrows, just trying to find a pick-off here. They have pushed Gladiators, but they're trying to push them around this corner and take the fight now with a bit of sandwich going on here as they're trying to slam in the damage. They call them in the corner. The Hulk comes through. Any sort of combo, not quite. The Atlanta Reign still putting in that pressure, but the shields have gone down. Gladiators want to press forwards now that they know that there's nothing really stopping them and getting in their way. Oh, but they've fallen straight into Pelican with the damage boost and the Hulk. Combos up, skewed, taken out, and there's no res for that. Gladiators forced to expend this Amp Matrix just to try and push the positioning away, and despite Pelican going down, he's instantly going to get rezzed up. The fight continues. Nice little flashbang connects, but the damage is already done. Pelican putting in so much work, being healed up as well. They're trying to remove him from the fight. He's just hopping around as Kai cleans up.
Great cleanup from the Atlanta Reign, but also just fantastic positions. They had both DPS doing a huge amount of damage down the main corridor while their tanks flanked around the side and forced the Gladiators into that angle, playing the sightlines perfectly. But Gladiators are still going to get an opportunity to recontest. Only a minute left here. As long as the Kevster can escape, which he does, they will have a chance to brawl. And this is where the Brig, in theory, should get value. But, I mean, you'd love a Mercy to res that, wouldn't you? It's over already.
Yeah. Yeah, the ultimates get committed. I mean, Gravitic Flux is committed as well into this fight. Okay, Kai goes down, but 3 picks now for the Atlanta Reign as they're rolling it in. It's not looking too ideal. Still, got a couple of bodies to, I guess, keep it from... stop it for just a moment. But 4 minutes, 20 seconds roughly. And now pushing it into checkpoint B. And this is where I was saying it gets a little bit difficult to try and hold. Kai getting picked there is pretty massive. It gives them actually time to set up the positioning onto this high ground staircase.
No opportunity for a res because Kai was really deep when he got picked. And here comes Birdring looking for a pick.
Yeah, just searching around the corner. The Supercharger wasn't placed in a great position, so Gator Supercharger gets taken out almost immediately. Could be... not having the threat of that damage to work with. The Atlanta Reign still steadily trying to push this card around, but at least they've taken away the high ground for the time being.
There is going to be another duel, though. Birdring and Kai are going to continue to fight over that high ground. And again, I keep coming back to it, but the Massa's Mercy advantage is going to play in favor of Atlanta Reign.
Gravitic Flux, not enough to get a kill. Shield blocking a lot of it. The Amp Matrix in the back line. The Atlanta Rain can't really play into this, and look at this coming around the corner. Yep. Skew tried to lock up one of the players that they could potentially kill. That's a lot of spam that Space is putting out, making them fall very, very low. Shield's going to get destroyed in the end, but still has this Gravitic Flux to work with. They drop down now as well, just temporarily.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a miniature reset for the Atlanta Rain as they back off. They have double DPS ultimates here, so Kai's ult could be comboed with the Halt, or they might just use it to force players off the high ground. Either would be really valuable for them as Pelican uses his duplicate. Where has he gone for that? Yeah, it's just to adjust position. Oh, but there was a Halt comboed. It found Bird Ring.
Yeah, Bird Ring's going to be falling. The Supercharger's committed, but into potentially a losing fight. Yeah. Okay. Kevster taken out of the duplicate form. Second Gravitic Flux comes through, though. Second breakfast. Why not? But it won't be enough. The Atlanta Rain have got all the picks they need here. Iris does go down. Maybe I've called it a little bit too early here. Now, Kai is still popping off. Space is trying his hardest to turn up here. The tank line of the Gladiators are rolling over them, falling very, very low as Pelican is finding space. But there we go, Gladiators, they get the defense going. The tank line stayed up there. I did call it a little bit too early.
Yeah, they dropped a couple of players early on. I think it was the healer ended up going down. I think Iris dropped early in the fight, though. I could be wrong there. And the Gladiators were able to get good positions off the back of it. I was laughing because Pelican duplicated Skewed and then whip-shot him to death. Was able to just Brigitte diff him, which is a very unusual scenario to be in. Gladiators now have taken control of the high ground again, which is so important to defend this area of Rialto. Remember how we opened this up? Oh, hello. That's
okay. Aggressive on the bridge.
Trading.
Yeah. Kevster will fall. The damage is still being put into them here, but it seems like the Atlanta Rain are just closing out this team fight. Okay, yeah, Skew can't really do much. I cannot believe the amount of damage that Kai is outputting in these fights over and over and over again.
LA Gladiators are going to be able to come back and contest the actual objective itself. But Atlanta now have all the space in the world. Hawk's going to get onto a good off angle. Gator can put down his Supercharger into a really defensible scenario behind one of these archways. And this is going to be difficult for Gladiators to come back in. Supercharger on both sides, and that could be a nasty ult.
The Dragon cuts them across. The rally is keeping them alive for now. And Matrix as well as like this double threat of damage. And as soon as Gator peeks his head out, he's taken out. Straight away the heals from Shu as well, keeping his team back up. Atlanta Rain, they have to respect this. That's why they're backing all the way around the corner. Kevster doesn't want to let up just yet. The Halt into the accretion. If they can get another kill, that's what he's hunting for. Gravitic Flux into them. Not enough for the kill here. 26 seconds remaining for the Atlanta Rain. Now they're pushing around. Pelican with the duplicate.
Halt Flux could be a win condition for the Gladiators here. They've got themselves into decent position. Who is Pelican going to duplicate? Muse falls so weak. Pelican might just go for him.
Okay, well, Pelican going to be duplicating over to the Orisa, just trying to build up this Supercharger. Shu goes down. Oh my god, it's huge. And yeah, way too much to try and overcome this one. The Atlanta Rain just in time are going to be able to cap this one up. So they're granted a bit of a lifeline now. 1 minute, 30 seconds from capturing that one up to try and capture and push it all the way.
It's Kai's damage through the Amp Matrix, though, that does it. They catch Shu on the other side, and when your BAP is dead, you simply cannot win these team fights. The Immortality Field, the healing, it's all just too important. So that's another big play coming out from the Hangzhou, from the Atlanta Rain.
Another Dragon Strike for Kai, which he's been building up. And he's waiting for the opportunity to use it. There we go. As soon as the tanks move forward, oh, that is beautiful by Space. Read him like a book. The grass comes through, removes that ultimate from it. So you can see Space trying to push this off angle. Gets caught. The Gravitic Flux is going to catch him out. Skewed, and the Immortality Field is committed to just try and keep Space up. The Accretion connects as well. And Kevster goes down. The Atlanta Rain still pressing forwards now. With Kevster out of the mix, they don't have a lot of damage to work with. The Amp Matrix, the Sticky Bombs, it's all layered on top. The Atlanta Rain are going to be able to push this one potentially to the finish line.
Gator with the Supercharger is devastating to push into. Muse has one of his own, but Gators, they have so many positions, so many angles that they're shooting from. It is going to be so hard for them to be able to get in.
Okay, yeah, it comes off on the side. Someone's got to come up huge here. The Atlanta Reign have all the positioning they need to try and win this one out as the point tries to get contested. Just throwing bodies into the mincemeat grinder there. But the supercharged are layered on top, so the Atlanta Reign will get that capture under their belts. And there you go. It's going to be about a minute on either side to try and work with.
Almost the exact same time bank, but a very different way of doing it. The Gladiators got snarled up on A and then rolled all the way through to C. The Atlanta Reign, they got through A very quickly and got held at B for a long time, struggling with that high ground. The big difference being is that Birdring got really crucial opening picks, and that to me is what's making the difference. The desk was talking about the Echoes being the deciding factor in this game, it being a big battle between Pelican and Kevster. For me, when I'm watching, it's coming down a little more to whether Birdring or Kai is getting value for their team. If Birdring can find a good flank and an off angle at the right time, or if they can just straight up get picks on the Widow or the Hangzhou by flying arrows and bullets deep into the backlines of their opponents. Those have been the moments where momentum has flipped on its head.
It's not a lot of time to work with for Rialto, but these teams, I mean, they've showcased that they can take these prolonged engagements. And we'll find out now. The Atlanta Reign obviously on the attack because they did end up getting just a little bit less time pushing in the moment.
Yeah, tiny difference though. And to be honest, I'm favoring the Atlanta Reign here because their point A push was so much better. As long as they can shut down Birdring when he gets going, they should be looking pretty. Remember last time what they did was flank through this mini house, take the left-hand route, and push the rest of the Gladiators into Kai and Pelican's sightlines. Looks like something similar is occurring here, except with Kai and Pelican going for the flank as well.
Yeah, just trying to pump in as much damage as possible. Iris, okay, pressing the advantage now off the back of that one. Birdring just trying to dodge and juke as Kai is putting in a lot of work just to try and push him away, but not enough. Gladiators holding strong. 10 seconds remaining. Pelican might be in position to try and contest this and keep the overtime going. As you can see him in the skybox there, lays down the sticky bombs. Is going to be able to touch this one, but Accretion comes through. Just about has the flight. No, the whip shot. Skewed catches him, and now the Amp Matrix as they try and just chuck the bodies onto the point to keep it going again. It's probably not going to be enough. The res onto Pelican. Anybody else to try and touch this? The off angle comes through into the back as Kai just tries to flank around, but he's removed from the fight once again. Pelican with the duplicate is going to get a bit more armor, a bit more health. Supercharger as well. The spawners are coming back in, but is it going to be enough? The stall heroes. Gravitic Flux catches Gator. It's going to be launching him right back down again, and they're going to be stopping them just short of that corner.
Fantastic defense from the Gladiators. So well played. They navigated the flank from Atlanta Reign wonderfully, stopped the payload really early on, and they were able to play aggressively as Atlanta came back off the respawn and get value out of the Brigitte. Textbook performance from the Gladiators, and they've set themselves up for a win here. You can't put it any other way. Atlanta only pushed it 42 meters. That is not an impressive point A push. It didn't even really get to the corner that we normally think of as being the area to hold. And if you think about the area of the map where that payload has stopped, it favors Brigitte as well because you have a lot of short-range engagements there. This is going to be exceedingly tough for Atlanta to hold on to, even though there's only a couple of team fights.
I mean, that's a really good point to bring up here. The prolonged engagement, if they can take like a really long fight when you get the Inspire procs up, the healing, just whipping the flail around the corner, they are going to be at the advantage. And that is not far at all. I mean, look at that box position. It's not even round the corner itself. Like, yeah, I mean, it's going to be very,
anytime
very tough.
anytime that Atlanta contest, they are going to be within range of Skewed. And that just means that you've got AoE healing being given out to everybody on the team. I think they're going to require Kai and Pelican to pop off if they want to win this.
Individual performances, that's the name of the game. The cart will slowly make its way towards that final box. That's what they're hoping for. If you are a Gladiators fan. If you're the Gladiators as well, I suppose. The Holt's going to be pulling them a little bit back. Kai has to respect the damage that's going to be coming through, but look at this already. you have to take the team fight at the corner, and this is where you start to contest. Playing very far back, actually, just trying to play out of range, I suppose, of Skewed putting in that healing, but that's the whip shot. Hawk goes down, the tanks have fallen, and it's done. It's dusted. Los Angeles Gladiators walking away with map number 2. And yeah, this is the team that was promised to what we've kind of dubbed them as the gatekeeper teams, I suppose, for Tier 1. Really battling it out. You could see how closely they are matched, but ultimately, it's the Gladiators are the one who are going to be walking away with it here on Rialto.
2 enter the match and only 1 may leave. It feels like a battle to the death to see which team is going to be a hot community favorite as we head into the June Joust play-ins. But at the end of the day, the Gladiators are up 2-0 right now, and Custer is kind of looking like a genius because even though it's been tight, the Los Angeles team is edging it out.
We're going to find out on the other side of the break just how this series will be continued or concluded. Will the Gladiators be able to close it out? Or is it going to be the Atlanta Reign showcasing that they've got what it takes to really hang with some of the best? We'll find out soon enough. Don't go anywhere.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League.
We've loved seeing your awesome artistic creations this season on the Fan Art Gallery by Coca-Cola. And this week, we want you to submit your favorite Overwatch League player enjoying a cold Coca-Cola beverage for a chance to be featured on the gallery. So submit your art to overwatchleague.com/art-gallery and get your art in. We'll look forward to it as well, showcasing it potentially on the gallery. Let's take a look at the power rankings of IBM Watson. As you can see, we've got one player who's playing in this match. It's actually Hawk sitting at 19, so above average, typically around the 100 range, the point system that IBM Watson is using. So above average from Hawk. Not surprised at this, honestly. His performance this season has been pretty good.
It's been more towards what we were expecting when he came out of Contenders. He was a very hotly anticipated prospect when he came out, but that first year in the Overwatch League, I think, was a bit of a rough awakening to what top-level Overwatch looks like for both Gator and Hawk. And now, especially in this meta, in the June Joust, Hawk has really turned up. Unfortunately, it's not been the difference maker in this game so far. The Atlanta Reign are getting outplayed by thin margins, but they are getting outplayed by the Los Angeles Gladiators. Again, Moth comes back in for Skewed here as we go over towards Volskaya. So that to me indicates that they have some intention of running Moira Lucio comps. I don't know whether that'll end up being true, but whenever I see Lucio players getting subbed back in, I've got to anticipate that it's happening at some point. We just saw from the San Francisco Shock that you can get huge value out of that rush-based comp when you're attacking on the assault maps.
Yeah, we're heading into Volskaya. Here's our map leaderboard, presented by Xfinity. Atlanta Reign, 5th here, with the 5:17 time back in 2019. Bad at all. And yeah, we're going to see what the Gladiators are really going to be doing, I think, against the Atlanta Reign. With Moth coming back in, I think, is a pretty important talking point, generally speaking. You can play a lot of these rush comps that teams are trying to play, in particular on Volskaya. I'm curious if it's going to be working, because it seems like the Atlanta Reign as well, when it comes to like their compositional understanding of how they want to match up to what's being thrown at them, something's been missing over the course of this series, and it has cost them.
Yeah, it could also be that Moth is just going to be their dedicated Mercy player. Like, for example, if they have no intention anywhere on the map of playing Brigitte, and they just want to be playing Mercy constantly, maybe Moth is also just their choice there. These kind of things are interesting to look at, the strategic choices of when you field certain people. But it's going to be Atlanta starting on defense here, and a very similar compass to what we were expecting to occur. Sometimes Hawk will be playing the D.Va in these circumstances, but getting him on the Sigma here makes a lot of sense for how the meta is playing out. Not as many teams going for those Winston-based compositions where the D.Va can get big value. But Muse is teasing it right now.
Yes, he is. Okay, now they're going to be switching back. Bit of double shield action once again, and yeah, Moth will be on the Mercy. One of his best roles, actually, if not the best role, I think, out of the caliber of heroes that he can play, which people find surprising when I come out with that opinion, but I think he holds the same opinion, actually, if you ask him on his personal stream, yeah. I think, at least he did a while ago. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but you can see positioning has been gained very early on here by the Gladiators. Not really much pressure being applied to them, so they've got in for free. But I tell you where there is pressure. Oh my goodness, Pelican almost finding that kill into Kevster. Kevster answering right back at him. And it's a battle of the pocketed Echo players. It can be quite disastrous sometimes. Nice accretion going to be catching here. The tank line of the Gladiators in trouble. Has to back off around that corner. And the Immortality Field is used early. Big cooldown. Gladiators don't really want to be fighting just yet.
That is really crucial. And this is what the desk was talking about. Now that we have the Mercy mirror on both sides, it does become an Echo battle. Pelican and Kevster are definitely players to keep your eyes on. But utilizing this Amp Matrix, they've taken the entirety of the point. Great work, really decisive.
Oh, Pelican just about catches Moth, but that's probably going to be rezzed. Yeah, indeed it is. Massa straight away in there. Can they try and deal with the rest of the players in the Atlanta Reign with that window of opportunity? Gator falling very, very low, but Pelican, remember, he got rezzed up into this fight. He's still active with the rest of their team. The longer it goes, the better it seems to be going for the Atlanta Reign to fight forwards just to try and deal with this one. Duplicate has to be used. Pelican, the dynamite. Surely that's enough. The coach gone on top. It is. But Ultimate's committed. And honestly, an even trade out. Gladiators, I think, might be favored coming into this one.
They're going to be able to get the spawners back, though, Atlanta Reign, I think. They should have enough time to be able to get things back in. Now, having said that, the Gladiators are going to be favored in terms of ultimates coming up. Kevster's duplicate is going to be really important for him to take aggressive duels against Pelican, because he has that get-out-of-jail-free card. He can play with house money as soon as he gets a duplicate on board. And look how quickly the Gladiators storm their way in.
Yep, Hawk trapped into the corner. The duplicates ended up being used, taken out of it straight away. Kai dealing with that one. Res comes through though. Muse and Hawk are going to be brought back up on both sides here, so the tank line's still healthy. The fight continues in close quarters, as both teams are going to be shifting a lot of what they're putting emphasis on. Hawk, again with the grass, just trying to stay alive, but the dynamite damage is more than enough. Moth will fall as well. The Atlanta Reign holding on.
Pelican is doing so much work. Pelican and Kai both. Kai found some enormous shots there, taking Kevster out of his duplicate immediately. Just a snap of the fingers and he's gone. And then Kai also, I believe, found a pick on Shu in the middle of that fight as well. Just such crucial shots to be hitting from that backline. And now Atlanta have both of their tank ultimates up again. It feels almost impossible for Gladiators to crack through. But just one single mistake and they could have a lot of momentum. It's always possible.
Supercharger on either side actually, but it's Muse's one who goes down just about round that corner. Pelican's built up the Hunt Matrix. He's hunting for an opportunity to use it. Okay, lays it down, so the window's going to be giving him a bit more oomph into this next fight. And the Hunt Matrix from Shu doesn't really get too much done because he just kites it around the corner. Oh my goodness, the holds and the accretion being met straight through. It's way too much damage. Muse just gets blown up.
Timed as well with the Bob running through everybody as well. Just gorgeous pressure being applied all at the same time from the Atlanta Reign. They wait, they get in position, and then they all attack together, and it just creates really difficult scenarios for the Gladiators to deal with. There's 10 seconds left, and Muse is the only person that can touch.
I don't even know if he's going to be able to touch. The Hulk should come through maybe. Okay. Does get onto the point. Gets the overtime going. Stays alive as well, but can anybody else try and reset the positioning here? Ooh, forced out here. Kevster has to use the duplicate. Moves over to the Orisa, taken out immediately, straight away. Seems like the Atlanta Reign are more than ready for this one. Going to see some big performances out of the DPS to try and clutch it, but Moth and Kevster have already gone down. The Atlanta Reign with a firm hold onto this point. Massa goes down though. Birdring still active up onto this high ground. But surely they're going to be falling as the tank line eventually is going to be drifting away. There you go. Nobody can touch. A beautiful hold here from the Atlanta Reign, stopping them just shy of that 50% mark.
Well, it's back and forth between these two teams, isn't it, Bren? I thought that the Gladiators were getting an advantage overall, but as soon as we go to the Mercy Mirror, the DPS of Atlanta Reign are able to come out on top. So many big moments from both of them, and just an understanding from their tank line of Gator and Hawk as well, of how to rotate, where to be positioning themselves, how to use the map as cover too, so that the Gladiators were always forced to overextend if they wanted to be able to pressure the point. A gorgeous performance, and the Gladiators, they only get 49%. That does not seem likely to me that they're going to be able to pull out a win. And there was no Lucio being played on attack, so it seems like the theory that Moth is just going to play their dedicated Mercy is the correct one.
Yeah, let's take a look at one of these replays here from Pelican. I think this was him cleaning up at the end. Yeah, it was, yeah.
He's just doing so much work in the middle of these team fights. The power of having that Mercy connected to him. Kevster can't do anything. He can't step up to him. Pelican's just a beast on this role.
It's so important to try and keep Pelican in check when he's on the Echo, because you don't really want to give him space at all. He's going to capitalize immediately off of it. Well, the Atlanta Reign have an easy win condition ahead of them. You don't even have to capture that much in theory, yeah. And I was hoping that you were going to bring that up, because it's often when we think it's going to be the easiest, especially with these kind of compositions, the way they play, they can be quite slow at times in terms of how often they're taking these team fights. Assuming we see a perfect game. Oh my goodness, okay, Kai gets taken out early. The rest comes through, but it gives them a lot of space to work with. Pressing the advantage, already getting these pickoffs. Gladiators realize that if they get a pick, they need to make sure that they capitalize immediately. They need to jump on the opportunities that are presented towards them.
And the defending DPS always have the advantage in these scenarios. They can get better sight lines. They have better positioning in general. They don't have to push in through choke points in order to fight. And Kai has gone over to Hangzhou here. So he's looking for information with that Sonic Arrow, as well as being able to find long-range picks. In a way that, sure, the Ash can, but the Hangzhou, the burst damage is just obscene.
And Matrix, they might be able to catch Muse as well. Kevster has to come up huge here. Okay, the Orisa onto the high ground. The Hulk pulling together, forces out the Immortality field, but the tank line they're kind of in a rough position. Still, Hawk gets traded out, taken out in the end. It's a rough fight to be taking this one. Prolonged out. You can see the Amp Matrix comes through. Will Pelican fall? He will. And now the high ground. Kev's in so much trouble. Has to back down. Needs to try and get some healing done. Eventually, yeah, he's going to be joined with Moth again. Atlanta Reign don't want to take this prolonged fight. They're backing off to the choke point.
Yeah, that was a weird one. Atlanta Reign got a lot of early picks, but the Gladiators were still able to turn things around. Kevster, I've got to give him a ton of credit there in the middle of that team fight. But also Moth for being able to get the res on space and still be able to survive. You're dancing on a knife's edge when you go for those kind of plays.
Dragon Strike's built up. Kai has been massive with these in the past. It's going to split them up and buy space for Iris to be rezzed back up into the fight. But a Supercharger comes up from Muse. You can see using the Fortify to try and body block so it stays up, but it's going to get taken down. Now Kai onto the high ground. Oh my goodness, the arrow. It's going to connect. Birdring goes down. Not enough to deny the res, though. Still available onto the high ground, but as that was happening, the tanks are susceptible, and now the Atlanta Reign are rolling over them. The Amp Matrix is laid down. The Immortality Field, they've got way too much that they're working with here. Bob's going to come through, but should eventually get taken out as the Accretion's going to be pushing them back. And yet, not really enough. Kev's the last guy standing. Will not be enough. The Atlanta Reign are going to be taking away Volskaya Industries, so still in the series as of yet.
Still in the series, Brendan. That's the most one-sided map that we've seen so far. Yes, it's the first one that goes the way of Atlanta, but the Gladiators never really had an in. They didn't get any value on their attack round. They were constantly outplayed by the tank line and by Pelican. And then Atlanta come in, takes them a couple of tries, but they finish with a fairly decent time back. A comfortable response from the Atlanta Reign, showing that they're not willing to bow out of this match early. 3-0 was not on the cards here for Atlanta. They are still in this fight for Tier 1.
It's been so close between them. I am not surprised at that in the slightest. Well, we're going to be heading to a short break, and on the other side of this, we're going to see, will the Atlanta Reign make the reverse sweep possible? Or is it going to be closed out early here by the Gladiators in that 3-1 fashion that we are so used to with evenly matched teams? Well, we're finding out soon enough. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Even more Overwatch League coming up after this.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everybody, from the break, and hopefully I'm not too robotic and pixelated. I don't know why I'm trying to... my internet's been playing up as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm really testing fate, I think, by waving my arms around to see if any funny business happens. I don't know why I'm doing it as well. I should really just be staying still. But yeah, you're joining us in the middle of this series here. 2-1 currently for the Gladiators. The rain kind of battling back, I suppose, in Volskaya with a really solid performance and just really getting that hold off on checkpoint A. And we're going to see now how this series is going to be continued, because it could be the beginning of something special here for the Atlanta Reign. Maybe some adaptability coming into the second half of this series that might put them over the edge.
When I was looking at this match on paper, I was hoping that it would go to a 5th map. And having seen how it's actually played out, I'm again still hoping that it goes to a 5th map. I feel like this series just deserves it. We need to see which team has the ability to close out these games, to be able to give us a little bit more. A reminder to everybody watching at home that this really is a battle between two top teams right now in the June Joust. They haven't performed that well so far in the rest of the season in the May Melee, but this time around they're looking good. And one of the big reasons here for the Gladiators is, of course, Shu, who is, I mean, this guy is consistent in every single meta. He's a top-tier flex support who's been unappreciated at times, but always been up there towards the top end.
I was so excited when this support line was kind of announced and put together of Moth and Shu. And of course Skewed as well, I think as well, a bit more of an unknown quantity. But when Moth and Shu, I was just thinking of the possibilities, because this guy, I mean, like you said, Josh, at times has been quite underrated, I think, across the scene, especially when he's playing on the Guangzhou Charge. I mean, there's not too many eyes on that particular region, at least from the Western perspective. So he did kind of fly under that radar in terms of that conversation, talking about some of the best flex support players. But he does put up the numbers. He is consistent across the board, across so many different roles, and he's a real cornerstone for this team of the Gladiators. Now, we're going to be heading into the next map, which I don't know. Should I announce it? Should I? Oh, well, there you go. Okay, nice. Right on time. There we go, Numbani. And Numbani gives me the kind of vibes, Josh. Whenever I see Numbani loading in, I'm like, oh, we might be setting up for some wonky stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course.
Some full holds potentially, you know.
There's always a lot of creativity. Yeah, because the escort portion of this map has so much momentum riding into it. And then the beginning portion of it, the defenders have so much of an advantage when they're holding on checkpoint A. So it's a very interesting map. There's so many different things that you can pull out here. But importantly, I'm thinking about that from the Gladiators' perspective. The Atlanta Reign have essentially showcased so far in the June Joust that they are running the Orisa Sigma or Orisa Diva compositions. Pelican is going to be playing Echo, Kai is going to be playing some kind of hit scan, and that is the comp that they are running, with the Mercy. This is the archetype that has been getting the Atlanta Reign success, and you know what to expect. For the Gladiators, I think that's a little more open. They've showcased that they can play the same kind of comps, though, you know, Volskaya would indicate maybe not quite the same level, but they've also showed a lot of different stuff too, with Moth playing Lucio and Shu playing Moira, or for example, Moth playing Moth being subbed out completely and Skewed coming in to play Brick. There are many different things that the Gladiators could throw at us here on Numbani after the pause.
Yeah. I mean, we almost escaped it. No pauses in our two matches. I don't think, at least. So, I mean, my memory's pretty bad at times. I don't think it's that bad, though. Definitely can't recall there being a pause outside of it. But
no.
Yeah, not sure what the problem is.
We've avoided diving into Greek mythology this week, actually. That was last week's thing. This time we've got to move on. We've got to find something different.
I was listening.
Any suggestions? Throw them in the chat.
I mean, I'm not reading it, but yeah, I was listening to Mitch and Matt today when they were casting the first match of the day, and Matt was like, "Oh, I learned about Icarus from Bren. Icarus flying too close to the sun," and it's like Matt, if he was actually learning from me, he would know that I got the reference wrong, and he should be learning that Prometheus flew to the sun, right? So it's almost like Matt intentionally or unintentionally.
Bro, how do you keep doing it?
No. Listen, I know. Listen, I know it's incorrect. Don't get me wrong. I know that's not what I'm saying. But Matt was like, "Oh, I learned it from Brent," and then came out with the correct analogy.
See. So you're saying he should have learned it incorrectly.
He messed up learning it from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, only Matt is capable of accidentally learning it correctly. I don't know.
Yeah.
The man defies logic sometimes. We're surprised, honestly. Every time I see him write an email, I'm surprised that he actually is literate. But I'm not going to go into detail about it.
Bold words from yourself as well, I think. As you frequently say, Brent, people in greenhouses shouldn't throw rocks.
You're right. I mean, greenhouses, I think, are made of glass, so it would be unwise if you did, because you break your house. Yeah, here we are, Gladiators. Actually, out of the pause. Not going to be diving into any weird conversations, hopefully.
And it's fairly basic compositions as well. It is just a mirror comp on both sides, which we saw that play out on Volskaya, but this map is a bit different. It's a bit more about rotations and being able to deal with flanks.
Oh, and a lot of it comes down to these echoes as well, keeping each other in check. Pelican has to back off there, took a little bit too much damage. But if one of the echo players finds a window of opportunity, oh my goodness, look at that damage coming in. You got to be so careful of this one. Kevs are backing off, but look at that. Gator has been chunked down on the defense. The rest comes through. It was a small opening that potentially the Gladiators could have capitalized off, but they have taken the high ground away from them. Slowly but surely. And Matrix now is not going to be contested too much, and Kai will fall. He didn't really have anywhere to go. Just had to play into that one, and it should be inevitable at this point that the Gladiators will cap up this point.
All about that high ground control. Just really methodical, great play from the Gladiators. They get up there as well by a combination of putting pressure from the coast with Birdring and Kevster, and then pushing their tanks in at the right time. It's all about timing. It's about making sure that your tanks are creating a distraction for Kevster to approach. If you try and do that on your own, Kevster's going to get spammed out of the air. There's just way too much poke damage. But if you all go together, they can't stop all of you at once. Really, really nice, well-coordinated play from the Gladiators. That's what we need to see from this team if they're to realize their potential this year.
Absolutely. They did commit some of the support ults into that fight, so Atlanta Reign are working with the Amp Matrix to try and stop them. Oh my goodness, Birdring at this flank position needs to be careful. And Pelican's trying to hunt him down. The sticky bombs come through. What a shot! Damage boosted up. Oh my goodness. And they've bought space as well. That, not actual space, but they've taken space on the map. And now they're going to be denying that res.
Okay, Gator goes down as well, and the Resurrect not available there because it's already been used on Hawk. There's a huge amount of damage coming through, all comboed beautifully together, and this payload is not stopping anytime soon. This looks like it's going to be able to secure checkpoint B as well because the Gladiators are just so deep. Kevster doesn't get anyone with the Grenadic Flux, but they've essentially got that one for free.
Yeah, no one's contesting. So 5 minutes, 20 seconds is the Gladiators' time bank.
It's a crazy time bank.
It is, it is. Now, a bit of a silver lining, I suppose, for the Atlanta Reign is that they're going to have ults to try and contest this, and it is at this particular section one of the hardest points to try and attack through. But if the Gladiators play their cards right with these ultimates and they're taking the initiative as it's all layered down, Gravitic Flux will connect onto a couple of targets, again into the backline, but Hawk, not enough to connect, will convert into any sort of kills. Superchargers on either side as well as the ultimates are just being traded on either side. It's Muse who's the one who's actually caught slacking ever so slightly. Supercharger goes down. Pelican with a duplicate. You might as well throw out the Gravitic Flux, why not? About to get taken out of the form. But yeah, this was the silver lining I was talking about. So the Atlanta Reign are getting this hold now, and this is the ideal position of which you want to be getting this hold around this corner. It becomes much harder for the attackers to try and push into.
For Atlanta, it's all just about bleeding down the time bank. They have a gargantuan task. 5 minutes has got to be ticked off that clock. This is just going to be repetitive for Atlanta. Every push must be countered with the correct ultimates. And the answer this time has got to come from Iris. He has the Amp Matrix, and he's got to find the right timing. Got to wait until the Gladiators extend a little far forwards, but not too far forwards.
And this Amp Matrix, oh, it's going to be crucial. Lays it down. Bob's going to be stopped in its tracks, actually, from the
Nice.
Fortify of Gator. That's actually really nice. Damage boost immediately removes that ultimate from the fight, and Birdring goes down. Can they deny the res positioning? It's going to get off, so Moth will be able to bring the team back up into it. 6v6, Birdring getting chunked down, though, from afar
Dynamite.
again. Oh, my goodness. Dynamite damage and Pelican just putting in those stray shots. That is too much to overcome. And so the Atlanta Reign, that time bank that was initially around 5 minutes, now being whittled down to 3 and counting.
Well played. Really nicely played by the Atlanta Reign there. They absorbed that aggression. Beautiful catch with the Bob as well, Brent, because that could have been crucial. The fact that they stopped the Bob coming through and they were able to use the Amp Matrix to destroy it really cut out any possibility for the Gladiators to make space. And now, I mean, what are we even looking at as we are thinking about how the Gladiators are attacking? They have a duplicate, sure, but the time is not really going to be in their favor. Hawk's going to build up to his own Gravitic Flux at some point in that fight. So Kevster and Birdring would have to find big picks.
I was wondering if they were going to go for the Amp Matrix from the high ground, but no, they're just using the high ground to get in without taking too much damage. And it pushes the positioning away. Duplicate into the
Great
Halt, into the accretion. Holy moly, that's a ton of damage. That's an instant Gravitic Flux. Catches onto 2, but traded out on either side. Pelican also had a pretty similar idea, actually. He's duplicated over to the Sigma himself, but no one really expects Kevster to be flanking in this kind of position. Oh my goodness, that was so inoptimal there. That duplicate timing, he got taken out of it, and it meant the accretion actually ended up connecting. Bob comes through, just trying to bring down that supercharger, takes it out, and the Atlanta Reign just about getting the people in order, the players back online off the back of those respawns to get the hold. Whew, that was close.
I cannot believe that Hawk and Iris stayed alive in that corridor. How were they not pushed and killed? They were so weak. Hawk less than half health that entire time. And even though Kevster was trying to push them, nobody was helping him. Now Kevster moves over to the McCree, so they have a lot of shield pressure here. Enormous damage going to be fomented out from Kevster and Birdring, especially with this potential flank with the damage boost. Any picks here from Birdring would be phenomenal.
That is a massive Gravitic Flux. And it's forced out the immortality field of the Atlanta Reign, but Birdring halted up. Surely he dies here. I mean, he's hitting headshots regardless. Pelican almost went down there as he was trying to punish the hubris of that kind of positioning. They did eventually take him out, and Atlanta Reign, it is the 5-player up fight. They're going to get the res up to Iris, but not before Gator will go down. Trading out this space, the shots ringing out from Kevster, trying to take out a couple of these players. Flashbang not going to be doing too much work as the Fortify was used immediately there by Pelican, switching back over, and now the Supercharger is built. The Halt into the Power Driver with all that damage. That is ridiculous.
It's such a fantastic halt. You could have convinced me that that was Gator, but instead he swapped over to the ball. Pelican just lands that perfect CC to be able to drag the Gladiators players together and punish them. And once again, Brent, this 5-minute time bank has been reduced to less than a minute on the clock. And the Gladiators, yes, they have tools to be able to push, but they've had tools in many different times. And Atlanta keep coming up with the answers time and again. A Halt Flux here and then Kai's Dragon Strike. It could all be over before it begins.
And Matrix traded out for either side. Oh, the Gravitic Flux in close quarters. That's what he's hunting for, and Hawk is going to be receiving it. Comes through.
That gets Hawk on the high ground.
It does get Hawk. He's going to drop down, though, as he realizes, oh, I'm going to get punished really easily here. Pulled into the supercharger damage, the Deadeye. That shield is going to be dropping them. This is almost perfect. Kiting coming through, but not enough. Oh, my goodness. The Gladiators. That is a lot of damage that they put out. Massa and Hawk will be finished. Pelican follows shortly afterwards. Kai has to come up huge, but no one's going to be touching that card to try and stop it from even entering that 3rd and final checkpoint. The Gladiators, just in time. I mean, remember, they had 5 minutes when they were pushing into that 3rd checkpoint, but they just about get it in the overtime.
Overall, it's a very, very good defense from the Atlanta Reign towards the end. But if we just address that final team fight where they had an opportunity of holding the Gladiators and not allowing them to get that final checkpoint, that very end team fight, Hawk looked like he was going to get a good position, but there was no follow-up. It felt like there was a big communication gap there. When he went in with his Gravitic Flux, nobody went with him. There was no additional damage, and it didn't really force out anything, any response from the Gladiators either. So apart from Hawk getting up on a high ground, which he was instantly displaced from, and then punished, that didn't achieve anything. I think that's a bit of a misplay there. Maybe Atlanta getting ahead of themselves a bit too much, Hawk calling a play that the rest of his team couldn't follow up on, and it results in the Gladiators capturing. Nevertheless, though, when you look at the big picture, that was a fantastic defense from Atlanta. 5 minutes on the clock, whittled away to absolutely nothing. They still need to complete all 3 checkpoints themselves, though, and that can be tough on the clock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're telling me. I mean, I feel it feels like, honestly, we just bring up the same script, the same talking point, I think, us commentators, when we're talking about Numbani. But this first point, it's pretty difficult, honestly, to attack into. And it's almost equal distance for both the attackers and the defenders. So it makes for these weird scenarios. You see a lot of draws on Numbani as a result of that. We'll see what the Atlanta Reign can do, as the shields are laid down just to try and get them into position to try and start taking away the high ground. And we saw on the Gladiators approach, they actually pushed the Atlanta Reign down to the low ground and slowly grinded out the fight. We'll find out if the Atlanta Reign can do the same thing here.
Birdring's in a position to stop Pelican approaching. That's the key. He needs to put enough poke damage on the Echo to stop them getting in a position above the rest of their tanks, because Atlanta are looking to go for the same exec that the Gladiators did.
He's so active.
Gator and
He's
Hawk
pumping
already
in the
have so much
shots.
position.
Matrix is going to be used, and Gator's taken out, but Pelican, yeah, he ended up going in with the beam there, and nobody is really keeping Kai in check. The DPS is absolutely
so
dominating. This is ridiculous. The duplicate has to be used as Pelican's just trying to stay into the fight. The Hulk pulling onto one of the targets there. Kevster has to fly away. 2 checkpoints, or 2 ticks already, I should say. No one's going to be able to contest this up, so the Atlanta Reign steaming ahead once more. A bit of a almost repeat there. The difference being the Atlanta Reign's DPS were the ones who really shine.
Yeah, and that's because the tanks were able to make space for them. A bit of the opposite way around. Still the same kind of push going through, but Gator and Hawk did such a great job of realizing that there was no Ash damage coming onto them, so they pushed forwards. Instead, Birdring's attention was firmly on Pelican the whole time. Both teams, though, excellent at being able to use the attention as a resource.
Yeah, you see that often as well when the Mercy players are going for a res. They realize, oh, the Mercy's not healing the front line. Maybe we can capitalize.
Yeah.
It's often when you see a lot of the kills coming through. Now Ultimate's coming out, though. Gravitic Flux onto 2. Kevster is trying to make good work of that one. He was holding onto the high ground here, but look at that Dragon Strike. And yeah, Muse stuck. That's a Supercharger gone again. It's not the first time in this series. And Bobbins are putting in a decent amount of work there, as Muse was rezzed up, but look at that shield perfectly in place, so Pelican's back into the fight, right into the Gravitic Flux. Is it going to be enough to try and stop them here? Well, Muse eventually will fall once again, so trading his life out. And the Atlanta Reign, it feels almost like this slow siege here, again grinding out the win as they have the damage advantage.
Muse having a nightmare of a team fight there. He was trying to back away from the Dragon Strike that came in from Kai, and he just, I don't know, somehow got stuck on the bus and wasn't able to get into the safe, warm embrace of Shu's Immortality Field. And then after he gets rezzed up, he dies again to spam this time from Kai. Kai really having the Orissa's number over on the Gladiators, and Muse absorbing too many resources from his own team. Still, I mean, another situation, Brent, where there's over 5 minutes in the time bank to push C.
Yeah.
How can the Gladiators' defense be as good as Atlanta's? It almost doesn't seem feasible.
Yeah, if you look at the ultimates that Atlanta are working with, ooh, I don't know, it's looking pretty difficult. That's an early Immortality Field, but immediately the instant capitalization. Kevster is off onto the side, though. The beam will tear through the grasp of Hawk. Doesn't need to have any of that damage, but with this Amp Matrix laid down and Kai and Pelican still alive, it's really feeling like a bit of a DPS difference at the moment. The cart will start to move forwards, and now they've got past one of the most difficult points of this checkpoint C.
Yeah, they're swarming through. They have a Supercharger to use here as well, and a Dragon Strike to force positioning. They're dealing with Kevster, who was behind them the whole time. I was wondering why Moth had died so early on in the prior team fight. He must have been with Kevster at the beginning. And here it comes through, that halt. No follow-up from Muse. Dragon Strike to force positioning, and now they're pushing into a Supercharger. That's dangerous, and a great flank from Birdring.
Birdring on the flank has to do some more magic, though. Possibly another kill. The res comes through for Iris. Needs to try and remove some of these targets. That is great work there from the Gladiators. It was looking really shaky, but ultimately they are able to do it. Massa with the blast took out Ball. It's an interesting one for the kill feed.
Yeah, you don't see that one happen very often. But the player to focus on there, though, is Birdring. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Flanking with Moth's damage boost, manages to pick up the kill onto, I think it was Kai in the backline. And that buys enough time for Muse to get his supercharger down. And this resets the momentum completely for the Atlanta Reign. We're now just at that same skirmish, the war of attrition. It's like being back in the trenches.
Yeah. And it's entirely likely that the Gladiators might just end up using their ultimates and rotating them effectively to try and close out this series right here. The rotation comes through. That's just trying to avoid this amp matrix. Birdring, oh no, has Birdring been caught there? He's like, I don't know, off angle, just trying to pump in the damage. Shu with the immortality field up close, but he's the only one who's going to be the recipient of it. He's been taken out. The Atlanta Reign, I mean, they've kind of picked them apart there, but it feels like the Gladiators almost outplayed themselves. Still, Birdring is in this fight, and the res is going to get off here. Bob's going to be bringing Kevster back into the fight, but they're going to try and take out these tanks. Bob to contest. That's quite a nice ultimate, just to try and bide him a few more seconds. And the longer it gets, the better it looks for them. Tanks are back online here for the Gladiators, and they've just come off the back of the respawn, so they will be stopping them short again.
Bob is so clutch there for Birdring to be able to contest again with that res as well onto Kevster, keeping those players up in the fight and allowing them to contest the payload. It got so close there, and in such a scrappy skirmish. There's a Flux that catches on tons of people.
And Kai goes down. I mean, even outside of the Gravitic Flux, they get zero value out of it. The damage is already done. Someone's on the car. Oh no, because they realized, okay, Pelican's trying to be cheeky. They do recognize it.
I hope we don't see one of those, Brian. I'm going to lose my mind if we see one of those happen in this series. A play like that to take us to the 5th map? Wouldn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah. 2 minutes, Josh, 2 minutes.
Yeah. I'm looking at Pelican and wondering who he should duplicate. But really, to me, that aside, Kai has a Dragon Strike to force positioning, and then they can play the Supercharger. It's a bit like rewinding back to that first team fight on Checkpoint C. There's the Dragon Strike once more.
Okay, now we see the Kevster just, again, moving over to the Sigma, trying to make it work. Pelican also realizing he's trying to go for this one. Massive with the res onto Iris. The Amp Matrix, though, they're trying to turn it around. Shu wants to put in a bit of that damage to Grass being used. And Gladiators a little bit split here. Can they kill Space, who's caught out around this corner? Birdring, oh my goodness, yeah. Fighting off a little bit too much.
But the res. No one was there to deny it.
Kevster with the beam. Oh my word. Now they're going to be trying to pincer them as well in the final minute. Atlanta Reign have to decide, how do we want to take this fight? We're trying to back off, but again, right into the meat grinder that is the Los Angeles Gladiators. They're not letting up in the slightest. They want these stagger kills because it means juicy ult charge. For the final 45 seconds left, we might be looking at the hold here.
These teams are like a mirror image of each other. They're playing the same kind of stuff. 5-minute time bank trickles down to the final 30 seconds. But the crucial difference is that the ultimate economy is massively in favor of the Gladiators here. To hold on, to close out the series, and to book their ticket into being a Tier 1 team in terms of the community's perspective for the June Joust.
It's all on Kai, it's all on Pelican. The DPS needs to come up huge. The Supercharger goes down early again, but a duplicate look at this on the off angle. It's actually trying to put in a bit of work as Kevster has built up the Gravitic Flux. It sends the teams back up and down again. Hawk goes down the res. Will it be denied? Gravitic Flux catches him Space with 2. That is ridiculous. Make it the 3rd. They will not touch it. And the Gladiators holding them just around that corner, whittling down the time bank. They're going to take the series overall 3-1.
Elation and double thumbs up in the Gladiators camp there from Shu. They know that the world was watching. Gladiators have so many expectations this season. People were predicting them to win the whole league, Bren, in 2021. And they've not been performing at that kind of level. This is a big win. You might say, if you sat at home, well, it's not that big of a win. They're only beating the Atlanta Reign. Atlanta look like such a scary team in the June Joust. If you can take down Atlanta, you're one of the favorites from North America, in my opinion. The Gladiators have got a great Orisa comp, really good skill across the board, and also the flexibility to play a variety of different compositions that are meta right now. This is a good team. Los Angeles can be proud of the Gladiators.
And that's certainly what all the fans are really looking forward towards, I think, as well. The amount of hype that was coming in to the Gladiators this season. It feels like every season almost. We say the same things about the Gladiators, but taking the win against the Atlanta Reign, definitely massive for them. I think it's going to be bringing their record as well up to 4-2, which is pretty nice. Nothing to scoff at in the grand scheme of things as well. The players are up out of their seats, just celebrating away.
Yeah, and they've knocked Atlanta back down into a negative win rate as well. Our player of the match, though, presented by Xfinity, I was saying his name the entire time. He popped off. It's got to go to Birdring. This guy was a beast.
He was unreal. Yeah, I mean, even in the final moments of Numbani that we saw, I mean, we're probably going to be seeing this highlight package, but he was taking these flank angles and getting these crucial kills into Kai or Pelican, who also have been dominating, honestly. This was truly a battle of the DPS from both of these sides. I mean, it did not relent in the slightest. But Birdring, this guy, I hate saying the term like back up to his old form, because I always think back to when we used that to describe like Taimu as well, and he was like, no, I don't want people to call me old Mu, I want this to be new Mu, you know? And I feel like this is this new chapter in Birdring's life where he's had these up and down performances, but on the Gladiators, he is Mr. Consistent, and he has been putting up the numbers to match it.
It absolutely is. It feels like he's turned a new leaf on the Gladiators this year in 2021. For whatever reason, be that a mentality shift, be that just the team environment picking up and the player quality around him improving, or if that's the shorter schedule that makes every match feel more important to him. Whatever it is, Birdring is a phenomenal player, and every time he's been fielded this year, he's been putting up insane stats. Managing to keep a KD of pretty much 2.0 that entire time as Ash in today's match. And not only that, but whenever he's on the Hangzhou, he's finding picks. The Widowmaker you guys saw earlier when we were talking about Birdring, he's got a fantastic Widow in his belt as well. There's just so many things that this guy can play, and he is Mr. Consistent for the Gladiators this year.
Yeah, certainly is. And with that, the Gladiators going to be taking the series. But the Overwatch League action obviously doesn't end just yet, because obviously we've got the post-show coming up on the other side of the break, and also an interview with Muse. So you don't want to miss that in the slightest. Thanks for watching the games of today, but don't go anywhere. The Watchpoint post-show will be coming up right after this. We'll see you then.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to the Watchpoint Post Show presented by IBM. We're joined now by Muse from Los Angeles Gladiators. Muse 선수 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. 헬로.
Congratulations on the win today. 오늘 승리하신 거 너무나 축하드립니다.
감사합니다.
Alright, so after playing against the Titans yesterday, you guys only actually had a day to prep for your match against the Reign. How did you guys prepare for your match against the Atlanta team? A team that's, sort of been on a roll and they've been performing very well in the June Joust tournament. 첫 번째 질문은 이제 어제 그 밴쿠버 팀과 경기를 치르고 나서 오늘 아틀란타 팀과 곧바로 이제 하루 만에 경기를 이렇게 들어가야 됐었는데 어떻게 보면 아틀란타가 이번 6월 토너먼트에서 굉장히 강한 팀으로 많이 이렇게 뽑히고 있었는데 하루밖에 없는 짧은 시간 안에 좀 어떻게 준비를 하셨나요? 오늘 경기를?
지난 경기들에서 아틀란타가 오리사만 쓰는 모습을 보여줬었기 때문에 뭐가 나와도 오리사는 무조건 고정이다 라고 생각해서 거기서 저희가 게임 내에서 적응을 하다 해서 그렇게 준비한 것 같아요.
Right, so after reviewing a couple of Atlanta Reigns matches, we found out that they were running Orisa a lot. So going into the match, we knew that they were going to play Orisa. So our mentality was, they are definitely 100% going to have an Orisa comp. So we should sort of use that to our advantage, sort of feel it out first in the game, and then sort of win, just sort of go on from that. All right, interesting. All right, my second question for you, Muse, is, we've also talking about Orisa. I sort of want to ask you this as well. We're sort of seeing a trend towards Orisa from the Winston for the main tanks. What's the reason behind that? 일단 두 번째 질문도 아까 오리사 얘기를 조금 하셨는데 그거에 관한 겁니다. 이제 처음엔 좀 이렇게 윈스턴 위주로 많이 이렇게 나오다가 조합들이 요즘 들어서 좀 오리사를 좀 많이 이렇게 좀 사용하고 계신 것 같은데 메인 탱커들이 그거에 대한 이유가 있다면 뭐가 있을까요?
오리사 일단 시프트가 헤드샷이 안 맞는 게 첫 번째 이유고 그 다음에 6초 풀링? 그게 되게 큰 것 같아요. 그리고 뛰어드는 것보다 받아치는 게 더 쉽다고 생각해서 북미 쪽에서는 많이 오리사 쓰는 것 같아요.
뛰어드는 것보다 뭐라고 하셨죠?
받아치는 거. 카운터 치는 거?
그러니까 윈스턴처럼 이렇게 다이브해서 이렇게 들어가는 것보다 카운터를 치는 게 훨씬 낫다?
네.
Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. I just have to clarify something real quick. So, the main reason why we're seeing a lot more Orisa, especially for the NA, is because the buff that Orisa got. Of course, the 45 now you can't get headshotted, and also the pull is also 6 seconds from the 8 seconds. Also, Muse also mentioned that, with the Orisa buff and everything, it is sort of easier to sort of counter the enemy's team. Because on the other hand, if you're using Winston comps, you have to dive in. You're the one that has to sort of initiate the fight, go in and sort of risk a lot of stuff. As in Orisa, with all the buffs and everything, it is a lot more sturdier and it is easier for using the team that uses an Orisa comp to sort of counter the enemy composition. All right, that is it for the interview. Thank you so much for joining us, Muse, and I will see you next time. 자, 오늘 인터뷰 해주셔서 너무 감사드리고요. 뮤즈 선수 다음에 뵙도록 하겠습니다.
네, 감사합니다.
감사합니다. Thank you. Alright, let's head back to the desk.
Thank you both so much. Congrats to the LA Gladiators. And what a lovely guy Muse is. I mean, I didn't understand anything he said, obviously, but he seems very likable.
I'm in love with Muse. And we have a matching hairstyle.
Whoa, that was... There we go.
We have matching
emotions.
hairstyle. He's a lovable guy. I like him.
Yeah. There we go. I'm with you, Danny. I'm with you. Full on. Now, this was a fairly close match, even if the end score might not actually suggest it. But yeah, I feel like there were a lot of similarities with those two teams. I want to know, guys, what gave the Gladiators ultimately the edge, and why was it birdering?
It was a lot of birdering. I think birdering played very well, especially when you're talking about the competition that he went up against in Kai. But I also just think the synergy from the Gladiators is really starting to come together. You can see that they have an understanding of how they want to play the game, even when they're putting Skewed in instead of Moth. I don't agree with playing the Brig like they did on Havana. But they made it work, on Rialto. But they made it work, and you saw it had like instrumental effects on that first point cap that they managed to get. So just really good individual plays by the Gladiators and taking it to the Atlanta Reign. I don't think you need to look down on Atlanta for this loss. I think they played very well. These are probably, two of the better teams that I think we have in this June Joust right now. But Gladiators get the edge, but as you said, it was so close. It could go either way if these two teams played again.
Yeah, I'd agree with the individual plays part, especially. Because I do feel like the Gladiators, like you said, they played overall a very solid game, understood the compositions they were playing, good macro game. But to me, it comes back to the hero plays in this team. We saw a lot of the members from the Gladiators step up on an individual level and make those necessary